Workers unite on the streets of Toronto. Thousands march at a rally at Queen's Park. Tonight they are calling for improved labor practices, better working conditions, and a significant increase in the minimum wage. Good evening. Ontario's lowest paid workers did get a raise today. October 1st marked the start of a 15-cent increase to the minimum wage.
Not nearly enough, say labor groups that organized today's massive rally. They say Ontario needs to match other provinces that saw a much larger increase. Let's turn to our Tracy Tong. She joins us live now from Queen's Park with the details. Tracy.
Andrea, you're right about that. Although Ontario has increased their minimum wage for the third year in a row now, if you take a look at the numbers, over the last decade, it's only gone up by less than $4. Thousands of workers making sure their voices are heard at Queen's Park today in a rally for decent work.
The current labor laws and employment standards, they no longer fit. So we're asking the government of Ontario to take a serious look at making positive change to the employment standards and labor law.
The minimum wage in Ontario increased from $11.25 an hour to $11.40 today.
Is 15 cents enough?
But workers say 15 cents more is not enough. They want a minimum of $15 an hour.
In this day and age, we need to make a decent living. We need to make money to support our children.
By my calculation, you're in debt at the end of the month, and I think that describes most people I know. They live off credit cards and debts.
People here say they want Ontario to follow in Alberta's footsteps, where the minimum wage is set to go up to $15 an hour by October 1st, 2018.
Alberta has already done it. Ontario should follow suit.
At this particular pace, the province of Ontario will reach a minimum wage of $15 an hour in about 20 years. That's not good enough.
Today's rally is also about workers' rights and security for many who work precarious, temporary, or part-time jobs.
Most minimum wage jobs are not full-time, they do not have benefits, you don't have a pension to look forward to.
We said to young people, go to school, get a job, get your college degree or university diploma, and these great jobs will be waiting for you. Well, all they have is outrageous student debt.
Workers say this fight is about fairness. Ontario has the fourth highest minimum wage in the country right now. Nunavut sits at the top of the list at $13 an hour. Newfoundland sits at the bottom at $10.50. Reporting live, I'm Tracy Tong. Colin, back.
Every year it has the minimum wage is go a little bit more high, but everything the rest is go more higher. It's very difficult.
Well, minimum wage is going up 15 cents in this province today, but at a rally here at Queen's Park, workers say that's not enough. They want minimum wage to go up to $15.
Many times it was, do I pay rent? Do I eat food?
Marjorie Knight has worked in retail for more than 8 years. She says the latest boost to minimum wage will only add $6 a week to her income.
Maybe 2 bags of milk, 1.5 loaves of bread. That's not enough. That doesn't solve my problem.
She was among hundreds marching to Queen's Park calling for decent work and fair wages.
We now have 1.7 million people in this province making $15 or below, and so that means that there's a lot of people making a lot less than the poverty line.
Organizers say with the rising cost of living, they want to see minimum wage brought up to 10% above the poverty line.
I have to remind you that it's not a living wage, it's just the minimum wage. The living wage in Toronto is $18.54 an hour.
I am getting only $1,400.
And how much is your rent?
There's $1,000.
Husna Sweet is a single mother who works in manufacturing. She says at $11.40 an hour, most in her industry are working multiple jobs just to make ends meet, sacrificing time away from their families.
12 hours, 7 days. Think about this. What is their lifestyle?
Organizers here oppose the argument that raised wages would be detrimental to businesses. They say it would actually boost local economies.
If you raised everyone up to $15 an hour across the province, all the minimum wage earners, you would actually invest $5 billion as a stimulus into the local economy.
I don't want to be in a shelter, and I don't want the government to keep me. I want to earn my own money. I need a fair wage.
Now, while workers here are fighting for $15 an hour. We'll tell you why so many in the province are still earning less than the minimum wage of $11.40. We'll have that coming up a little later in the show. At Queen's Park, Ginnela, Massa, City News.
Demanding better, why hundreds of working-class citizens took to the streets despite a raise in the minimum wage.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 11.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with outrage over wages. Protesters took to the streets today demanding the province do more to help the working class. Minimum wage is now $11.40 an hour, but those who are out today say even working 40 hours a week, they aren't making enough to support their families. Here's Vella with our top story.
Shouts for wage increases and rallies for fair jobs.
What do we want?
Hundreds of people shut down the intersection of College and University, hoping to get the attention of Ontario's top decision makers at Queen's Park.
The government here has to make a decision. Are they going to continue to be a part of the problem, or are they going to be a part of the solution?
Among the crowd are people like Rebeka Amin.
I am an accountant by profession.
She moved to Canada from Bangladesh 2 years ago.
Canada is a first nation country, first world country, richest country. That's why I have a good education for my kids.
But instead, she found a job in the manufacturing industry, earning minimum wage.
We come here as a skilled immigrant. After coming here, we found that there is no job, scarcity of job in our career. So we are forced to do this type of precarious job, surviving job to survive.
As of today, October 1st, Ontario's minimum wage will increase by 15 cents from $11.25 to $11.40. But for the hundreds of people standing behind me, they say that small increase isn't enough to support a family.
15 cents? Not nearly enough. No, we want it at least $15.
But some argue adjusting minimum wage to $15 would hurt small businesses and increase unemployment rates.
Firms start to economize on their labor costs. How do they do that? They reduce the hours of people worked. They go from full-time to part-time people.
Ontario's NDP leader disagrees.
The evidence shows very clearly that the increase in minimum wage actually is helpful not only to the business people, but to the economy as well as to the workers.
For Amin, she says her situation is getting more and more desperate.
Food price is increasing, rent is increasing, TTC increasing, but our wage rate is not increasing in that pace.
And like the hundreds that were out with her today, she's calling on the province to help combat the struggle of those fighting to stay above the poverty line. Vella, Global News.
So again, minimum wage went up today by 15 cents an hour, just shy of 1.5%. Now that number adds up to just $6 a week for an employee earning the new rate over a 40-hour work week. While that number does not seem substantial, according to Statistics Canada, it's on par with the rise in the Consumer Price Index, which is the indicator which calculates the fluctuation in the cost of essentials like food, shelter, and clothing. The overall conclusion, families who are struggling or were struggling beforehand will likely continue to do so, though the increase will not make matters worse.